Daniel Olson asks, what is Anthony Edwards' ceiling as a player? And realistically, are the Wolves better off if they just stay in the 3 seed position in the West when you look at playoff matchups?
No, I don't. If the Timberwolves can somehow, I think they need to climb to 2. I just don't want to take on Dallas in the first round. I think that's a tough matchup for anybody. Now, I want to say this too. I thought Minnesota's boat was sunk the second that Karl Anthony Towns got hurt. I don't know, man. Anthony Edwards, the fight that this team has in them, they just got a lot of dog, man. The Timberwolves play super hard, and so I think a first-round matchup against anybody playing Minnesota is going to be a tough out. Like, Minnesota is going to grind them out, man. And Anthony Edwards could go superhuman. So I think Minnesota has a real fighting chance against anybody that they run into out west, but I wouldn't want to run into Dallas. I would much rather match up against Phoenix. I think Minnesota, it's going to be a real interesting battle. I mean, it is pure offense versus pure defense, and I think that's going to be a fun battle to watch. I would much rather Minnesota climb to the 2 seed. I wouldn't want to take on Dallas in the first round, but Ant's ceiling as a player, I think Ant could be the best player in the world one day. Now, that being said, if Victor Wembanyama ascends as fast as I think that Wemby is going to ascend, Anthony Edwards may never hold that throne. But I think he could be the best American player in all of basketball, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And face of the league-wise, personality-wise, Ant checks all the boxes. The one thing that's just so remarkable, I was talking about this with friend of the show, Michael Donahue, a few days ago, resident Timberwolves fan. Ant might have the craziest bounce of any NBA player I've ever watched. We were talking about his dunks and his block in the Pacers game. Every one of those highlights, Carson, Anthony Edwards is still going up. Every one of those highlights. Like, he hasn't even reached his peak. Like, the only thing that stopped him on that Pacers block was him slamming his head into the stanchion.
Yeah.
You know, on John Collins, he is still elevating as he is dunking that ball. Like, I think Anthony Edwards could be one of the handful of best basketball players on the planet. The rim pressuring ability, I think the mid-range pull-up game is going to reach a level where it warrants him taking a high volume of those shots. I think that's going to translate to 3. He's just the total package. I think when he finally becomes the, top-notch rim pressure, I mean, he's already great, but once he becomes, apex Anthony Edwards level, I think it's going to maximize his playmaking. The ceiling is unlimited, it feels like, for Anthony Edwards. I think best American player is expected. I think best player in the world is definitely still a potential, though.
I expect him to be the best American basketball player. I expect him to win an MVP. I think he very well could win a scoring title. Luka Doncic is going to make that really hard to do for the foreseeable future, as will an SGA. But I think there's probably 1 year where Ant is comfortably over 30, and I think he's going to hit 30 a couple times with just the monstrous production we're seeing across the league right now. And if it weren't for Wemby, I would say that I can see him being the best player in the world someday. But when we're talking about his ceiling, he should be a top 3 player at some point. There's just such a rare combination of downhill force and finishing ability. I've mentioned this before, but NBA University would tweet out these graphics that basically talks about like shot quality and then finishing ability. And Ant would consistently be an F in rim shot quality and an A+ in rim finishing. Like, it just doesn't matter who's in front of him. He is so strong. He's so bouncy. He's so agile. He is going to find a way to finish around the rim. And then he has improved as a pull-up shooter. He's just not nearly good enough there yet to be the consistent superstar that some people want to make him out to be because of, I think, what they see in his future, because of, I think, the Timberwolves team success, which is awesome, but a lot of that is about a great team defense. And at the end of the day, right now, there are 39 guys taking 6 or more pull-up jumpers per game. Ant is in the bottom 5 in effective field goal percentage. It's not so much about the threes. He shoots fine on pull-up threes. It's more about when he does go to that mid-range game, he just is still lacking there and really struggles with efficiency. So maybe that develops more down the line. That's been a consistent issue for Ant since he was a prospect, the mid-range game and the floater touch, that overall intermediate game. But what he can do as a rim pressure and a flamethrower with these pull-up threes alone is so deadly, and it sets him up for these monstrous stretches like what we've seen both times he's been in the playoffs. You mentioned these last 4 games without Karl Anthony Towns. He's over 32, 8 and 6 on really good efficiency with some super impressive defensive moments. And that's the other thing. If Ant fully dials in defensively, if he decides at some point in his career, I want to make all defense, I think that he's capable of it. I think he has such a strong base. He's such a good lateral mover. He can really disrupt people with his bounce as a shot blocking guard. He just has all the tools. He has all the tools to be a dominant force in this league, except for maybe that high-end playmaking and intermediate shot making. But he's improved as a playmaker, and I think he's a guy who will average probably close to 7 assists a game in his prime just because of what you mentioned, the rim pressure element. And once he can consistently make the right reads there, it doesn't have to be super high-level stuff, just the basic stuff. He'll be a very impactful playmaker. So I love Ant, and I think that people want to elevate him to being the face of the league right now and to being a clear top 10 player. And I just don't think he's there yet, but he's 22 years old. He is ahead of schedule, and he is one of the most special players in the league today.
And he's just got stupid supreme confidence, man. It's awesome.
Oh, sure does. Thinks he's the best athlete in the world at every sport.
In the one interview, somebody asked him, they were like, do you think prime Michael Jordan could guard you? And then the camera pans over to him. Hell no. Anthony Edwards is awesome, man.
Dude, did you see his reaction after he dunked on John Collins? Did you see him with the TV guy, the broadcaster?
Little ass boy.
Yeah, the TV broadcaster just sitting there smiling, like, dude, putting the mic up to Ant. That was funny.
I loved it. Well, that's my thing, man. Do you want Ant to not be himself? Ant is the most himself guy in the league. It's just, there's no act, he's just him. And I that's what I love Ant for, man. There's no filter.
I love Ant. I love everything about Ant.
I love his birthday, man. I love his birthday, man.
Logan and Ant are the exact same age. We don't know down to the minute, but down to the day and the year.
True story,
So they will forever be tied because of that.